Okay.
Okay. So say your name for the camera.
Lucie, Paula, Mariska, Fuscaldo.
And where were you born?
And in Germany on October the 12th, 1926. In Nordenham, Germany. Yeah.
And did your parents tell you anything about the day you were born?
No.
No? And what's your very first memory?
I don't remember.
Did you share a bedroom?
Yes, with two other girls, my two older sisters.
Okay, and so what were the names of your siblings?
Annalisa, the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was Rola, R-O-L-A, and then came me.
Okay.
And then came a boy after that.
And what's your brother's name?
Gerold.
Who was more strict, your mother or your father?
Sick?
Strict.
My mother.
Okay. Do you have a vivid memory of something you did that you got in trouble for?
Yeah, being home late for dinner.
And what did your mom do?
She smacked me. I had to go to the bed. We had a big bathroom, and she took me in there and she would give me a swat.
Okay.
But I would get it anyhow, whether I was 10 minutes late or then I figured might as well be an hour late.
How did your family earn money?
My family didn't have to earn any money. My father worked.
Okay.
He was a carpenter, a fine furniture maker.
Okay. And what was your father's name?
Lajos Hegedus, Hungarian.
Okay. And were you close with him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I loved him.
What was your dad like?
He's lovable and huggable, and all that. While Mom is stricter. She's, she doesn't hug and kiss and all that stuff.
Okay.
But my father did.
Do you have a favorite memory of your dad?
Favorite? No, just everything. I used to love, he had in the house where we lived, he had a big shop downstairs.
Uh-huh.
And I used to love to go there and smell the wood because everything he made was hand carved and he just and I used to love to go there, and he always had chocolates or something like that. Well, my mother would never think of that.
Okay.
Food, that was it,
Okay. So what kind of things did your family spend money on?
I wouldn't know. On food.
Okay.
We had a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
We had a place outside the town where my father had half an acre, and he took care of all that with vegetables and fruit, lots of fruit trees he had, and all that stuff.
Okay. Do you have a favorite memory of your mom?
My favorite? No, I can't think of it, really. Just, she was always there, Mm-hmm. She was teaching me how something had to be cleaned.
Okay. Do you have a sibling that you were the closest with?
Yeah, I think my sister Rola,
Mm-hmm.
because she was 4 years younger than I was. Annalisa, my older sister, was 6 years. She was older already, and she's a smart girl. She went to a special, what they call high school. We don't have a high school in Germany. Now they do.
Mm-hmm.
When you're 14, it's in elementary school, you can graduate. You get your diploma.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wanted to go to high school or whatever, prep school, we call it gymnasium, which is not a gymnasium where you hop around or whatever, And,
Okay.
that was about it.
Okay. So you were the closest with Rola?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she wasn't the smartest either, so I could boss her around. And my brother, too. My mother always thought my brother was God. After 3 girls, she finally gets a boy, 15 months after me, I said, hey, hi, Mom, I'm still over here, And I had to help him with his schoolwork, said, God, he used to kick him under the table. And my mother would she gave me a smack. She said, cut it out. Leave that boy alone. I said, well, he's so dumb. He's doof. Stupid. You know.
How would you describe yourself as a child?
Rebellious.
Okay.
Oh, I was always.
So give me an example. How are you rebellious?
Well, if I wanted to go somewhere, and I was supposed to be home at a certain hour, you know, I wouldn't. My mother would hang out the window and just, oh God, here I'm going to get it again, you know. I hope my grandmother is going to intervene, or my father, but he wasn't home then. But I was trying to make my own time all the time, you know.
So what would you do when you were out?
Meet my friends.
And what would you and your friends do?
I don't know. Go to the beach.
Okay.
Go to the parks, you know, those things like that.
So you were saying your grandmother lived with you guys?
Oh, yeah.
So how did that happen? Did she always live with you guys?
Yes, as far as, yeah. She was always there, living with my mother. When they got married, she was already there because her husband was a seaman. And he got lost at sea.
Oh my gosh.
And so my mother was a Reinhardt. And, you know, then so she came to live with my mother and us, you know. And then I remember her having a stroke, but she was, I loved her. She was a sweetheart.
Well, so what else was she like? Do you have a memory of your grandmother?
Yeah, always. She was always sweet and, you know, and I used to say, God, that's your child you produced. She nothing like you.
Okay. So where were your parents from?
My mother was right around the corner by the North Sea.
Okay.
That's where she was born. All the family came from there. And my father was born in Hungary.
Okay. And how did your father get to Germany?
He could, there were always revolution?
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't even think of it. And communist run country, you know. So he got away from there.
Okay.
He just wandered out and wandered into Germany from south all the way up to north and met my mother.
Do you know how they met?
I don't know how they met, but I don't know how my father ever hooked up with my mother.
How long were they together for? Do you know?
I don't know. Before that, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know exactly when they met. It was in a 18 something.
Oh wow.
Still.
Okay.
You know, or early 19. Must have been early 19, before the First World War. But my father had nothing to do with that because he wasn't a German, you know. He wasn't, it's not like nowadays where you can, anybody can go volunteer, you know.
Yeah. So tell me, growing up in Germany when you did, can you remember what it was like before World War II started? And what it was like after?
Oh, yeah.
What was it like before?
Before is, well, I sort of grew up in Hitler time. Hitler became chancellor in 1933.
Okay.
By 1936, I was 10 years old. And that's all that was pumped into us. Hitler. Hitler is God. Well, and when you're that young, you think, oh, he must be all right, you know. And then when we were when we were 14, we had to join the Hitler Youth.
Okay.
The boys were, boys, I forgot even, not Boy Scout, but you had to go and wear uniforms, you know. And the girls too.
So what, was there a specific, didn't you have to say something in school? What was the phrase that you guys had to say?
Oh, yeah, Heil Hitler.
And then wasn't there a thing today?
And before school started, but in our school there was like the higher grades, other grades, and the first one. We don't have kindergarten in.
Okay.
You start at age of 6, first day of school, you know, and every morning before school, and they all started at the same time. We had to move in the courtyard, all the classes, and we had to line up. We knew exactly where to go, and we had to sing. Deutschland, Deutschland über alles, which means Germany, Germany above everything. You know, Deutschland, Deutschland über alles, in the world. And then it keeps, and then another one with the SR marching, you know. And we had to stand there like that. And you better not do this, because after a while your arm kind of gets tired, you know. And then we could go in, and you always greeted anybody with Heil Hitler.
Wow. So you were talking about school. So what do you remember about school?
I liked school, but even there I was very interruptive. You know, you had to, you know, like this.
Raise your hand?
And I, you know, many times I blurted out the answers. Because I was like, come on. I must have thought everybody must be stupid in this place. They don't know the answer. So I blurted out and say, and then my teacher would say, Lucie, get out. I had to go outside and stand in the hall. Because, and anybody who sees you out there said, she must have done something, you know. And then I used to pretend, because the coats were hanging there, you know. And I used to pretend I was looking for my coat. But they all caught up with me. I said, I know you're standing up there. You did something. Fräulein Siedenburg didn't like your answer, or you answered when you're not supposed to. You're supposed to raise your hand. That's it. Not go like this.
So did you have a favorite teacher?
Yeah, that's my favorite. And then we had singing, and I always had the high. That was another teacher who played the violin. We didn't even have a piano there, and he would teach us. I never learned how to read notes, but I was the high. When you had a song, there were three: the high and the low. So what do you call it? You harmonize.
Yeah.
And I always had the high voice, because I had a good voice. And,
Yeah?
You know, not anymore.
When did you stop singing?
Huh?
When did you stop singing?
Oh, long time ago. I mean, even when I was younger, here I used to say, now crackers, you know. You don't forget, you lose all that.
Okay. So what did you were talking about, you were like as a child, what did you like to eat? Did you have anything that was like your favorite?
I liked bread.
Yep.
I hated vegetables. And my mother forced me to eat it.
Okay.
You know, but I had to, you know, because vegetables were our thing my father took care of. And when he came home from the garden, you know, and he had to walk, that was probably a couple of miles. You know, he did all that after he did his work, you know, and all that stuff. But, yeah, I forgot what I was saying now.
You're talking about your favorite foods?
Yeah. I liked meat, but this, you know, my mother made nice roasts. And we had chicken, and we call it not Frankfurter, a hamburger. What do we call a hamburger? A real crazy name. I'll think of it later.
Okay.
I can't think of it. But that kind, I never cared for vegetables.
Okay.
And my mother made a lot of soups. Yeah, but sturdy soup, I mean something that stuck to your bones, you know. And she always says, you're too skinny. I used to be so skinny. She used to call me string bean. Bohnenstange. You're thin like a Bohnenstange. Nothing on the sides, nothing in the front, nothing, you know, just like that. I said, you're going to stay like that forever if you don't start eating and put things. And then, of course, after the war, you couldn't buy anything anymore, you know.
Yeah. Did you have any other nicknames besides String Bean? Did anybody else have nicknames for you besides?
No, my mother just did. Lulu.
Lulu.
Yeah, nobody called me Lucie. Lucie isn't really a German name. I don't know where they get that from. It's more like British, you know.
Okay.
When I think about it now. But, no, Lulu.
Who started calling you Lulu first? Do you remember?
Oh, my mother. Even when once I moved to the States and my mother would write, it's always Liebe Lulu. Dear Lulu. She always called me Lulu, and everybody else there called me Lulu. You know, people I hadn't seen when I went back the first time. I said, my God, nobody has called me Lulu in a long time, you know. No.
What did your dad call you? Did he call you Lulu, or did he have a special name for you?
He called me Lulu too, you know.
Okay.
He always called me his little Zigeuner, which means his little gypsy.
Why would he call you that?
My mother meant it. She was going to give me away to the gypsies if I don't start behaving. In those days, she used to scare me. The gypsies go around begging or something, you know. And I said, you know, they like to take children. You don't behave yourself. I'm going to give it to those Zigeuners. It's a Zigeuner, you know, the gypsy. But I always just like to wander off and talk to strangers, you know. Nobody else in the family did that. That's what I mean, a weird one in a family.
Did you have any pets growing up?
A cat.
What was your cat's name? Do you remember? Do you remember what the cat looked like?
Yeah, she was black with a white bib and white paws. And I used to play with it I had a little carriage, you know, my doll carriage. I used to put the cat in there. And once a year, that cat, and it was a house. It wasn't an outdoor cat. And when she had to go outside on the balcony, we had like a sandbox where she would go, you know. But then sometimes you could tell she meow, meow, meow. She wanted to screw around, I guess.
Okay.
Delete that
I can
one.
delete that. Don't worry.
And you know, it's just then she had the babies.
Okay.
You know, she usually had about 4 or so, but we always found somebody who adopted them. We never had to get rid of any, you know.
Okay.
But that cat we had a long time. But after that, once she died, we never had any more, you know. And then we were all kind of grown up and nobody wanted to take care of it, you know.
Okay. Okay. So, do you remember anything about the house that you grew up in?
What? Like what?
Well, is there anything about it that sticks out to you? Is there anything that you remember?
No, I know it was a beautiful kitchen. It was a big kitchen. Like, that's what we call here now a eat-in kitchen. A big table. We didn't have a special dining room, you know. Big table. You could put 12 around it. And with a big bench that my father had made all carved and so with pillows on it, you know. And when we didn't have company, you know, only half of it was used there. Because when we had company, my brother and I had to sit at a children's table. Oh, I used to hate that. My mother had everything all set, you know, with fancy glasses. They had wine, you know, and we get the glasses too. And my mother said, this isn't wine, this is water. I already knew by then. She said, that's what you call Gänsewein, goose wine. Goose wine is water. I said, oh, who do you think you're fooling?
Did you guys have parties often?
No, at birthdays.
Okay.
You know, and my mother's brother, Robert, Uncle Robert, he was a captain in the Navy, that uniform there. They lived in Bremerhaven in a real fancy town, you know, with the elevators and all that. And then there was another one that was related. I forgot how she was related to us. They owned a big clothing store. And they would, you know, when something was going out of style, she always would, and that was in Bremerhaven, you know, but then it took a long time to ship something like you think you had to go to Timbuktu, you know. But that's why we were always the best dressed girls in town. Because my grandmother was a seamstress also.
Oh.
And she made was handmade and measured, you know. And when she died, my mother, and that was the old-fashioned wasn't even electric, the machine then.
Oh, the pedal.
The pedal one. Nobody had, I don't think anybody ever heard of one. So, but she learned how,
Okay.
Okay.
Wow. So you were talking about things that you wear. Was there any, you're talking about loving, being really close with your dad and being close with your grandmother. Was there anybody in particular that you looked up to growing up?
Up to in particular, I don't think so.
No?
No.
Okay.
As a kid then, we looked up to Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't find out until the war started. Because we started that whole business, Hitler did, by invading Poland.
Yeah.
And of course we won it. Poland, according to Germany, is like this, and Germany is like that, And, there were a lot of Germans living in, there was the border between Germany and Poland was like a corridor.
Mm-hmm.
You know what a corridor is,
yep.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that when we won the war, it was always ours.
Mm-hmm.
When we lose the war, it goes back to Poland. Those poor people, they didn't know whether they should speak Polish or they should, And then, of course, all that came out later when Hitler did what he did to the Jews, all the Jewish people,
So tell me more about that. What was it like being in Germany during World War II? What do you remember the most?
Oh yeah, sure. For one thing, you couldn't get any food. Everything was rationed except salt. What the hell can you do with salt? Can't drink it. You can't make something out of it. So, and one egg a month we would get. A gal is only allowed milk at a certain time when she was after, like my sister, when she was pregnant, after she had the baby, she had to go to the doctor and prove that she was still nursing.
Which sister?
Hola.
Okay.
My other sister lost her, and then she died very young. Kidney failure. Yeah, that was...
Wow. So the doctor had to make sure that your sister
Oh
was
yeah, and then
still nursing.
she would get milk, even so she wasn't really then nursing anyway. He must have been going on 3. I don't know how the hell she managed to squeeze that milk out of there, unless the doctor kind of cheated there too,
So tell me more about growing up in Germany. Tell me what were some of your favorite things to do? I know you said you hung out with your friends and you'd go to the beach.
Yeah, I know, but mostly then during the war. Don't forget, then the war already started.
Yeah.
And we had to, the elite group of men already left Poland. And then we started invading Russia. And that's where we lost most of our good men. Our climate wasn't used to Siberia. Most of them just froze to death there, you know.
So how did your life change? I mean, what was when the war started? When did it really impact you? You were talking about the rationing.
Oh,
what else happened?
And then when finally, don't forget, we were already fighting with England. Then the bombing started, and we all had to build. By then, everybody had already built a shelter, and they had outdoor bunkers. If you didn't have a cellar where you could go to, or you could go to the bunkers and sit that out, and then wait for the, everything is over, instead of alarm, they had so that was finished. Otherwise, it goes like a police, like that.
So what was it like? I mean, because you're not 100% German, and Hitler was kind of looking for anyone that was different than him. So how did that impact you?
But I was still, in my mother's family, they could prove back till the 1700 that they were of Aryan descent.
So you had to prove that for Hitler?
Oh, yeah. Not that far, but at least 3 generations or whatever. And there were Reumanns, Reinhards, and Dietrichs. All that name was, and a gang there. And, other than that, and my father died before the States got into the war. What was that,
We were in 1941, we were bombed.
41?
Yeah, December of 41. We were bombed in
All
Pearl
right.
Harbor.
My father died in 1939.
Okay.
And come to think of it, in retrospect, God knows what could have happened to him. But with all the things that we found out after, because we didn't know anything about his family. A name like Hegedus, people thought, what kind of a name is that? And then I used to say, when I belonged to the Hitler Youth, I said, God, why can't I just be a Reinhardt, an old German name, or Meyer, or anything like that, Hegedus, somebody said. And what's your father's first name? I used to say Ludwig, Louis. It's Lajos, Lajos, which comes down to, I guess, something like Louis or Ludwig. In German, we would say Ludwig,
Wow. So how did your dad pass away?
But he had a cancer. I think it was cancer of the liver. But my father you never saw him with a drink, never. Nobody drank then, you drank beer, But maybe once a year when we had a feast somewhere on the outside of the skirt, there was a big market. Well, once a year they had. And my father would go and buy for my mom a Lebkuchenhart, which is a heart made out of honey bread, something, cake, like the taste that you have Christmas time, and it would have something nice to say, and a ribbon you can hang it, and and then he would have one beer. My mother could smell it. She'd tell him, "Get out of here." She didn't want anything to do with him. That really stunk,
Yeah. So how old was your dad in 1939? How old was he when he passed away?
It's just about. God, I have to look that over now. 18.
Was he like in his 40s?
Early 40s,
So was when he passed away, was it really unexpected, or was he sick for a while?
No, he wasn't sick. Well, if he was, he wouldn't. See, they blamed that on his work too, because he did a lot of all his carving by hand and always pressed, all this over here. I don't know what that has to do with it. But so when I heard that, that was awful. And my father was Catholic.
Oh.
And I never met a Catholic before. They're all Protestants.
Did you go to church growing up?
No. Well, yes, we had a confirmation. And I thought that was disgusting. We had to, but we were then 14. It's not it's not like the Catholic Church, but you had to drink the wine, and everybody drank out of the same glass. I said, that's disgusting.
That is disgusting.
Yeah, we never went to church, but everybody was baptized.
Okay.
All
right. So let's fast forward a little bit. So what was your first job? Did you have a job when you were a teenager, or was your first job when you...
No. Then 14... Then I went to another school for 2 years, to the gymnasium, but that you have to pay for. See, and my brother, he went finally too. He was smart enough because he became an engineer, aerial. Yeah, because we had built airplanes right along the river there. That's why we were constantly being bombed too. But our town, got away with it pretty good. Our house was never, hit or anything like that. But it's, that was tough,
What was it like when your brother was drafted? Because he was young, wasn't he? What was it like for you when that happened?
Huh?
What was it like for you when your brother was drafted?
I couldn't understand it.
How old was he?
Just about 15. Well, that's what Hitler said. Planes used to go around with flyers coming down and I got the book on it there. Somebody wrote a book about it. And it said on there, when you want to 14 even, wenn du 14 du bist ein Mann. When you're 14, you're already a man. And you had to go. And that was just about, by the time they got to the French border, the war was over and they were taking prisoners there.
Who, your brother was taken prisoner?
Oh, yeah. But then by then the Americans, and it was good, and then the French took over. And he had too much to say about that. So, but he never saw any combat. They were never trained. They didn't know how to shoot a rifle. You know.
How long was your brother held as a prisoner?
Oh, that I don't remember. I just remember when he came home.
And what was that like?
And he just wanted, something that my mother made, homemade, And that was her kid, That was God to her. Yeah, she loves him. Well, she loved all of us, but the boy was something special, I guess.
Did you know he was coming home? Did he write a letter, or did he just show up one day?
No mail, no nothing went through.
He just showed up? So were you excited? Because you guys are really close in age.
All of a sudden, we got up and the door, but we had the thing that goes, and on the outside. And I said, oh, God, look at it. I think my mother answered the door. It's a wonder she didn't faint. Yeah.
Wow.
He went back to school, and all. And he got in education in. Then the occupation, the Americans, all the combat soldiers were sent home because then the occupation came in. Needless to say, they went through combat like my late husband, and he went from Africa to Sicily to Italy, France, Belgium, and into Germany. So the whole bit,
Yeah. And how did you meet your late husband? How did you meet your late husband?
I met him. They were in because we had to learn English in the gymnasium, whether you liked it or not. I said, who the hell wants to learn English anyhow? So, and then they wanted, they had flyers going, from door to door or whatever, wanting English-speaking Germans because they were setting up all kinds of ordnance depots, and they needed personnel to run, so they wanted English-speaking Germans, and that's how I applied for my job, and nobody cared about money. We all had plenty of money, but there was nothing to buy,
Okay.
So we figured, the Americans are here. They'll give us cigarettes, and we can take the cigarettes to the farmers outside the town. We were lucky if you had a bicycle. Otherwise, you walk miles. And and all that stuff. So it was, it was good. And for my mother, she got a taste of real cafe. And that's why I don't care what brand coffee it is, as long as you don't make it too strong. I don't like Mississippi mud, because I drink my black. And
so how did she get the coffee? Your late husband gave it to her?
But then I worked for him. He had a depot there. I forgot. He was a master sergeant or something.
So you were his secretary?
Well, if you could call it secretary,
okay.
Whatever, I didn't have a desk or anything. But yeah, that's what I did there then, a lot of stuff. And all the big trucks were in and out and delivering here, and that's what they delivered. I remember my brother told me, because he was working then, just looking for anything to do for my late husband then. He was there. And he says he remembers him putting a hole in a sack of coffee beans. Nobody had ground coffee, and then he used to go around and sweep it all up, and my mother got real coffee. She wasn't. She used to make coffee on the same beans twice or three times. It was still better than the crap that she was drinking before, you know. We didn't have anything like this. We made the coffee in a beautiful ceramic pot, you know, and the coffee is on the bottom, and you had it at a sieve, and that's why you always poured your coffee through a sieve.
Okay.
You know, a real pretty silver sieve. You know, we had all that, but we got nothing else. So, that's good.
So when you first met my grandfather, what were you thinking? Do you remember the first thing you thought when you saw him? Did you think like, wow, he's good looking, or wow, I want this job?
No, I didn't. I just wanted a job, so I could, you know, trade in the stuff that is. I don't even know if we got to pay.
They still owe you money?
You know, I don't even remember. I don't know, but he says, all right, you can come back, you know, tomorrow, whenever, and you work over here, work for me. And then he told me, and then that's, one of these days I'm going to marry you. And I told him, I said, look, I wouldn't marry you or any other American if you were the last man on earth. You know, famous kids later, you know. Because there weren't any German men left. They were either 14 or 80.
So did your family like him?
Not in the beginning, no.
Why? Because he was American?
But after, the whole thing, you know, don't forget, we lost the war, you know. And my mother went through 2 wars, actually. The First World War, that was 4 years, from 1914 till 1918. And she got married to my husband in between there sometime. Oh, tough.
Yeah. So what made her all of a sudden like Grandpa?
I don't know.
Just because he was bringing her stuff?
He used to drop me off and come in, you know, and that probably had a lot to do with it.
Took care of them?
Oh God, yeah. He's bringing me coffee, you know, cafe.
So your brother worked for him too?
In the beginning, yeah.
Okay.
Until he then was trained to work with on the planes that they were building. And then, of course, that factory was closed up altogether. And then they had a big metal factory where I found a job for a while, too. But I had to go to bookkeeping school and type. I had to go to school for that, too, you know, because I was somebody's secretary then. And it depended on how fast you could type without mistakes. You know, all that. You know, it's altogether different nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
And you made a mistake, boy, it was tough. And if you wrote a letter, typed the letter for the big boss, sometimes his secretary was on vacation, and I would have to sit and take shorthand. I don't remember the shorthand anymore. But you knew it all, and you better get it all straight, you know, and then type it, and don't make a mistake, because if you have it, you know, in printing or whatever, you had to get that thing and erase it and type it over. That's the only way you could do it. Now I don't even know they make typewriters like that anymore. Regular typewriters.
I don't know.
No, and then. That was before they had the electric ones. And boy, are they noisy.
Yep, they
and
sure
that
are.
school where we went in that class, I go, could drive you crazy.
So before you got married, did you guys go dancing ever? Did you guys go out to eat?
No, we went out. We went to, not dancing, really. Eating, I don't know if we had any restaurants. And there weren't any German restaurants open yet. We used to go to the club.
Okay.
And that's how I learned how to like donuts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they don't make donuts like that now.
Okay.
I don't know what's the matter with the donuts now. I don't care for donuts anymore. They just tasted different, you know.
So you guys went
to the club. We used to go to the club where the GIs went to, you know. And they had everything there, and they set up. They helped our town, the people in our town too, you know. they had little flyers they sent around, if anything they could help doing, and that's the occupation then, because all the others shipped home, and Joe wouldn't go because he says, until I get permission to marry this German girl, I'm not leaving this country, So finally, we got permission. You had to prove that you didn't have a venereal disease.
Okay.
They used to pick them off the streets, the girls, and examine them,
Oh, wow.
All that was, was crucial because one hasn't spread it around, and anything like that.
Mm-hmm. So who did you have to get permission from? You had to get permission from the government?
Oh, yeah.
To get married?
Yeah.
Do you remember, how did you guys get married? Did you guys have a ceremony, or did you just go to a courthouse? What happened?
We went to the, what do you call it?
Like a justice of the peace?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. And somebody, I didn't even have a nice dress. Mm-hmm. One of my neighbors who came from the Rhineland, they were bombed out and then moved to us. And she had a beautiful dress, and she gave me one of hers. Mm-hmm. And I wore a hat, and I forgot who came with us. Just one, I think. One witness off, there was one. I even forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. How did your family feel that you were marrying an American?
Oh, well, by then they got used to it. Mm-hmm. Because there wasn't anybody else that would marry me anyhow.
Why?
No, there weren't any men, I told you.
Oh, okay.
They were too young. You don't want a young kid like that. And I don't want one that's 80 years old either.
So how old were you when you got married?
19, 20.
Wow.
20.
That's young.
I was already pregnant then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons too, Everything was too late,
So what made you guys decide to come what made you decide to come to the United States? Did you want to come here? Or did you want to stay in Germany?
Well, he had to leave, for one thing. And then when Joe was born in July, we came, and it took us that long to get papers for me. Mm-hmm. I had to have passports because we had to fly to France first, and then from there to Belgium, where Joe had been stationed last in the Graves Registration Command, they call it, where they would ship bodies, and from there ship them home,
Wow.
And
that's an awful job.
Yeah. So, anyhow, but they told us we could fly from France. Mm-hmm. But then my last day in Germany, I had to go to Hamburg. Well, Joe drove me. I wouldn't know how to get there to get a passport. Mm-hmm. I couldn't even get it in my town for France. Wow. I already had the one for the States, but all that had to be in it. And then when I was in France, I had to get one for Belgium. And then I had to get one for Holland, because we couldn't even fly from Belgium. We had to go. We flew from Amsterdam.
How long did it take you to get to America? That sounds like it would take a really long time.
That was before jets. The fastest plane was 12 hours.
Oh my gosh!
And then from Amsterdam we went to Ireland. What's that big international airport in Ireland? Well, anyway, we had to go there to refuel. Mm-hmm. Joe was in a basket, and the stewardess said, well, you want to go out, you look around, and that's what I liked. And she just took care of the baby,
Oh, good.
And then from there we flew to Newfoundland, Newfoundland, which is actually part of Canada.
Right.
And refuel. And from there to LaGuardia.
Gosh.
And by then it was, late in a day anyhow. And Joe, and I wasn't a citizen. Mm-hmm. I had to go through one line, and Joe, of course, he had to be discharged in the military. He had to go through another. And I was sent, I don't know which way he went. I said, oh God, what is this? And it had snowed like crazy. I never seen so much snow that time. And they must have been barracks for something, all barracks. A room this size with one bed was cold, and so I said, oh my God, for this, I left Germany? You know.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mother-in-law, Rose,
Mm-hmm.
and Jerry, and he used to tease me all the time. I said, "Oh, you must be Jerry." He used to tease me all the time. Yeah, I'm Jerry. They picked me up, you know, and then made me feel. And then later on, Joe showed up, yeah, because he had, have to go through all that rigamajig, you know.
What was it like meeting your mother-in-law for the first time?
Oh, she was very nice, very sweet, you know.
Yeah. What do you remember most about her?
How a little woman like that can do all that work and take care of that big house and do all the cooking
Mm-hmm.
and the washing,
Mm-hmm.
laundry. And she had 3 couples living up there.
Oh, wow.
There were 3 bedrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Tony was there living with Kate, and who else was there? Anyhow, they were all still there. We had our own room up there too, but not our own bath. I think, as I recall, there were 2 bathrooms up there.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother-in-law had Grandpa was still alive too then.
Mm-hmm.
Downstairs, they had a big bedroom, you know, and a bath. But the bathroom was just like a powder room.
Okay.
Off the dining room, you know.
What was Grandpa Frank like?
He was very nice, very.
Yeah.
You know, he was kind of strict too, you know. So.
Okay.
But he's. My mother used to say when during the hard times and people couldn't get jobs or something. He was a A1 Mason, very very well known, and always had jobs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, probably Pat talks about it. That fireplace that he built when that house was built out of natural stone, it's still standing.
Really?
Yeah. And the one that bought it found my father-in-law's initials in there somehow.
Mm-hmm.
He must have carved them in it because you can see it from the inside and the outside. That's a not one of those that you buy already made, you know.
Mm-hmm. So how long did you guys live there?
Oh, quite a while. And then we had to move up the street to Ursulita. Her name was. God, that was horrible. Upstairs, one room, and I already had Martha then.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Don't forget, you know,
That's
when
right.
Joe was a year old, the next one was there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went to Ursulita's,
Mm-hmm.
I had 2 cribs there.
Mm-hmm.
No, one was still in the bassinet.
Okay.
And goes up steps, about 14 steps,
Oof.
down to her kitchen. And the only kitchen she had, stove she had, was one of those old-fashioned stoves, you know, with coal and horrible. And the bathroom was right off the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And an old-fashioned icebox wasn't even in the kitchen. It was across the hall.
Mm-hmm.
But not that they had anything that they really kept cold, you know.
Mm-hmm. So how long were you guys there for?
Oh, a good year.
So
Because a neighbor, found out that by then, Pat was the last one who ended up in the bassinet, and somebody else gave me another crib too.
mm-hmm.
And then she says, "Well, my daughter has outgrown her crib, you know. So are you interested?" Or in other words, and I said, "Oh yeah," because Pat is not going to stay much longer in that thing, you know. He had like, I don't know, a cold. How babies have cold. I don't even know what you call it then, you know.
Wasn't he born with some issues?
Yeah.
Wasn't that was a tough pregnancy, or that was a tough delivery, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was born upside down, but that has nothing to do with the rest that he had.
Okay.
He had a belly button that was out like that. And my mother-in-law showed me what to do with you. I think you put a 50-cent piece or something on it and then tape it.
Okay.
And then it just grows back in. And he had sniffles, so, always like cold. And he always slept on his left side.
He still does.
And yeah, but then his one side, when you look at him, was flat. And I tried to turn him over. You gotta go, you have to get on that side. Next time I look, it's turned over again, But then it finally outgrew that whole thing,
Wow.
Oh.
So when did you move to the next place? Because 3 years later, right, you had Aunt Annalisa?
Yeah. Wait a minute. I even forgot where we moved to.
When were you guys where was Bible Street? Was that Grandma Rose's? What was on Bible Street?
Oh, that's the Italians. This mostly, it's like Little Italy.
Oh, so you didn't live there. Oh, I thought you lived on Bible Street at one point. Okay.
No. We had relatives there.
Okay. That must be nice.
And then, of course, the Scapellis at the end, I never had any money. I had to charge it, And luckily, people then took it. And then, of course, you had to make sure you paid it off, Forget a supermarket.
Yeah.
I think you better start moving.
Okay. Okay, so we left off yesterday talking about your kids. So, how many kids do you have?
5.
And what are their names?
Oldest, Joseph. Second, Martha. Then comes Patsy. Then Annalisa. And then Frank.
And how did they get their names?
I just picked them out, or my husband did.
So did you guys decide who got to name who?
I don't remember how we decided. The Annalisa I know I wanted somebody to be named after my sister, Annalisa. Joe, because he's the oldest. We made a junior out of him later on, And then Martha, after my mother, and then we named her, I think, Martha Rose. Rose is my mother-in-law's.
Okay.
Martha Rose. And then Pat, was Marion. That was a real Italian name. And then came, then Annalisa, my sister. And Frankie, I don't know who the hell he was named.
Was he named after Grandpa Frank, you think?
That could be. I forgot his name was Frank. Yeah, probably. I don't have no idea.
Okay. Okay. So, where were they born?
Huh?
Where were your kids born?
My oldest one was born in Germany. He was 6 months old when we came to the States. The rest was all born here in the United States.
Okay.
But they were all American citizens, while I was a non-citizen.
Okay.
So on.
What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite story about each child, or something that stands out about each child when they were younger?
No, all I remember, my first child was harder than the others because they didn't believe in anesthesia of any type. You just, And I was at a hospital. Most people in those days, most women gave birth at home with midwives. But they teach you how to breathe inside this.
Okay.
That's what I did.
Okay.
Up there in the hospital too. But it was easier here.
Okay. So tell me, what was Uncle Joe like as a kid?
He was, he knew he was the oldest. And always was trying to be bossy. There was always a fight between him and Pat.
Why was that?
Not fight, but arguing because he was the oldest or thought he was the smartest, and whatever. I don't, this is so long ago, I can't remember that.
What's your favorite thing about Uncle Joe?
I wouldn't know. Favorite? When? At what age?
At any age. At any age.
No, he was always attentive and remembered holidays, and and he went out and worked, caddied. When he was a young kid, I don't know how that kid as a caddy, he was as skinny as he never played football or anything, like Pat, you know. And no, he always tried to make money. He always wanted to make money. That's why he never graduated from the Greenwich High School. They made him finally quit at the age of 16.
Why?
You might just as well quit because you take off more time, pretend you're sick or whatever, you know.
What was Aunt Martha like as a child?
Oh, she was, I don't know, nothing outstanding really. She went for a while to St. Catherine's.
Okay.
Catholic school. That's all I remember, but no, nothing in particular. I can't remember anything there.
And what's your favorite thing about Aunt Martha at any age?
She was always at any age, all right. She was then when she left the house, before she got married. Because the first time I went back to Germany, she was married, I forgot the year. What was the year she got married?
She was a teenager, right? Wasn't she about 19, 20 when she got married?
No, she was already out of school. It was in 1969.
Okay.
I don't know if that wasn't my first trip back to Germany. My second.
Okay.
When somehow somebody told me join the German club because you get a better flight. And she came with me. And we were supposed to be away 6 weeks. That was a 6-week thing. I went to stay at my mother's place. And it just, no, we stayed at a hotel. But then we had rented a Volkswagen, a German Volkswagen. And we drove all the way from Bremen, Frankfurt, all the way up north, and you know she did all the driving. That was good. But I have to think about that.
So she was a good travel buddy.
Oh yeah, she did all the driving. And she stayed at the hotel, but then, and the hotel was owned by one of my school buddies. She owned a hotel where we stayed, and that's where we used to have dinner, you know, and stuff like that. But she, and then don't forget, she was just married a few months before that. She got so homesick.
Okay.
I can't blame her.
Right.
You know, you're just married, you're going to take off for 6 weeks. If it was a week, that would have been fine, you know. And she finally said, I have to make an extra flight just to go home. And we had a flight. We had to drive all the way to Cologne, that is.
Oh, okay.
And so she could get her flight back to the States. I said, oh, she's not gonna make it another 4 weeks here, you know.
It's a long time.
So that was it.
So tell me, what was my dad Patsy like when he was a kid?
He was a cute kid. He's the only one who had curls. And I never wanted to curl him off, and his father said, don't curl that hair. I said, no, he is a boy. You have to, not really curly, but yeah, everybody else was practically baldy when they were born, you know. And he was I think, one of the cutest kids I had, you know.
And what's your favorite thing about him at any age?
Well, I was proud of him because he's the first one of all my kids who really graduated from Greenwich High. And by then it was the new high school, you know. And he was a famous football player, you know. He's the one, every time a football player did something special, you know, they had a helmet that they would get a letter and you start off with a G, and the whole thing would, when you get all the letters, would spell out Gurkha. And Gurkha is the name of some East European country, but they were doing specials, you know, or they were, I don't know, I can't think of the name, when they were, I can't think. Anyhow, so he had many, and I was very proud of him. And he was in all kinds of sports. He was involved in baseball, and he was co-captain of his
Wrestling
team. You know, and that's it. That's the only thing I can think. You know, it was always, and he always told me when he had his buddies over to, you know, I had a cookout for some of his buddies of the football team or whatever. And they were big kids by then, and he always warned them ahead of time, don't swear in front of my mother. And I said, all right, they should hear me now. But that kind of swearing, little kids say it these days, you know.
So he was being a gentleman.
Oh yeah, he said, you don't offend my mother like that. That was good.
And he's still like that. So tell me, what was Aunt Annalisa like as a kid?
She was, wait a minute, Ellie, she was a sweetheart too, you know, nothing, she just, whatever you told her she would do, you know, no problem. The same thing with Frankie too.
Very easy kids?
I don't know, how come that thing went off?
So tell me, what do you remember most about Aunt Annalisa at any age? What's your favorite thing about her?
She also didn't finish high school because she was involved too much with the boyfriend already.
Okay.
At her age. Okay.
Okay, and so what's your favorite thing about Uncle Frank when he was younger?
No, it wasn't, I don't go to, and he went to, by then he had his special school in not too far from us, you know, where they were teaching. When somebody was great in certain subjects, they would teach that more, you know. And that's when they ran the scholarship, because anybody without a father or without parents, period, would, anyhow, he's the one who, what was the name of that school? Dunn something.
Was that the one at Hershey? Or was that
no, and then from there he went to Hershey for a year, and it didn't work out. He wouldn't stay another year. He could have get a fantastic, you know, high school. High school. It was before high school, you know. He was too young when he left. He was 12.
Yeah.
So, you know, in retrospect, I think that was the reason why he couldn't. He was so homesick. I wanna come home. Tell Martha I'll catch turtles for her and painted turtles, and I'll take out the garbage and all that. I want to go home, you know, and he stuck out the year there. No, that was about it. You know.
What is the funniest memory you have of any child of yours? What is the funniest thing that sticks out in your mind?
I can't think of it right now.
No?
No, it would take
Not the Lederhosen?
Huh? Oh, that's one, but you're right. But Frank, and I had been in Germany, and I wanted to bring something back that's authentic. So for my friend and who was a girl, my best friends on Kerry Road, and Frankie, I bought them a lederhosen, and I made him wear it to school, first day or whatever. I don't know if he was then first grade, it was before kindergarten. And he came back, Mom, don't ever make me wear that pants again. Everybody was laughing at me, you know. I said, well, I just wanted to show what they wear in the olden days. And lederhosen, where I come from, north, nobody wears those. That's down south. The people, they have different, tastes and all that. Yeah.
So, do you think there's any child of yours that is most like you?
I think it's Annalisa.
Yeah, and why is that?
I don't know. Maybe we got closer.
Okay.
I never got that close to Martha. And the boys, boys go off on their own, And I would say so.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any special sayings or expressions?
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, but I don't say it that often.
No, you don't.
Nothing. Or I say something that I didn't want to do or something. I say, oh, Jesus Christ. It's a good thing I'm not a Catholic. Because you're not supposed to take God's name or whatever in, what do you call it?
In vain.
In vain.
Do you have any other sayings? Do you have a saying that you think you're known for?
Not that I know.
No? Not to each his own?
Huh?
Not to each his own?
Oh, right, to each his own. Yeah. I don't know.
Or whatever.
I don't know what you meant, huh?
Or when you say whatever?
Whatever. Yeah, all right, that's what you meant. See, I don't know what you meant. To each his own or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which comes down to each his own. You think that way, I think mine. To each his own, right?
What's the best compliment you've ever gotten?
Anybody said, oh, you're German, and when I was younger, you're beautiful. I said, yeah, sure. And then they tried to compliment me and say, oh, you're German, you must be a good cook. I said, no, I'm not. I never learned how to cook in Germany. Before the war, I was too young. During the war, there was nothing to cook with. And then even after that, I learned how to make soup. Or pound of bones, which I had to stand in line for 2 hours,
So how did you learn how to cook?
Just that my mother-in-law rose. I used to do better. I know nothing really about German. I can do a Wiener Schnitzel, but that's easy, But my mother-in-law taught me how to make sauce, Italian. That's where I learned Italian food, the sauce, and all that stuff.
So when the kids were little, what did you cook for them? Because didn't you have a meal every night? Weren't you pretty structured?
I don't know, something that went into one pot, fried up some hamburger or whatever, and put vegetables in it or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but definitely not gourmet food.
Was there any meal that your kids absolutely hated that they had to eat?
No, not the meal, except one son that didn't like eggs.
And which son is that?
That's Cat. He didn't even want to sit next to somebody who was eating an egg, which is up here because you didn't smell that. I didn't barely do hard-boiled eggs, but in Germany we ate for breakfast a lot of soft-boiled eggs. But you had to put it in a cup, and you slice the head off of the egg and then eat it. And you had different spoons for that and all that. Those are all things over here in the silverware. They don't even have that, And when you buy your dinner plates and all that, the whole set, it's never A cup. What the hell is an A cup? Who wants an A cup? Here we get soft-boiled egg and we crack them up and put the whole thing in a bowl, which makes sense. But that's how we ate it. I used to love the soft-boiled eggs.
What was the meal that everybody loved? What was everyone's favorite meal that you cooked? Even now, what's your specialty?
Well, right now it's shrimp, but it's anybody comes and I make my shrimp Newark, but not in Germany. Besides, we don't have we never had those big shrimp, they call them, we didn't get them up north. We got little ones we call granat.
Okay.
But those little ones, when they all come all the way and swim over here, and they must be that big, you know. So,
How many grandkids do you have?
oh my God, 15.
And how many great-grandkids do you have?
Oh, no, 12 grandchildren.
Uh-huh.
Great-grandchildren, 15 now.
So how many people did you create? If that out of that family tree, how many people are there?
I don't know how many, but you have to read my book over there, the one that made Alyssa. Yeah.
Out of all your grandkids and great-grandkids, are there any that you think are very much like you?
Well, maybe you are.
And why is that?
Now.
Uh-huh.
Because you think the way I do, and I don't know, for some reason. So,
Okay. Okay. So tell me.
And closest, you know,
Uh-huh.
I've never gotten that close to anybody, especially since I moved here. And even up north, it used to be the ones who had most pictures taken when Jim was still alive was you.
You mean Nancy?
And Nancy.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, that's about it. They were closest because Pat and Vicky.
Yeah.
Because well, I think one time, maybe, I don't know, Joe ever made a remark or something. How come there are no pictures? Because she never came to visit over there. You were there all the time, you know. Once in a while, Annalie would come from up north in a van with the 2 kids already, you know, and they would sleep out there and in the van too, you know. But it's different.
Yeah.
But you were closer. And Nancy at that point was the closest to me, and she was the closest to Grandpa Jim too. And when he died too, she would sleep with me when she had a sleepover, like over the weekend, you know, in bed with me, and I had Grandpa Jim's bear, teddy bear. We call him Grandpa Jim. I gave it to him, and I kept it. And you know, maybe she saw me getting kind of teary-eyed or, you know, depressed. I don't know what a kid knows, but they
She
know
was a smart kid. Yeah.
You know. And she says, "Don't feel sad, Omi. Grandpa Jim knows we're here. See, he can see us, you know." That was so funny. And that time she was there for a weekend, and we had gone shopping. I had a bird then. That was Grandpa Jim's. It was his bird.
Was that Herbie?
But we call him Herbie, Uncle Herbie. You know? And we opened up the door, and Nancy says, "Omi, I just saw something blue flying out." I said, "Oh no, couldn't be, because he used to let them fly around." But I didn't like them be in a cage all the time, which I should probably not. And he never came back. He was lost then, you know. Probably some other animal got a hold of him, you know. By then I cried. You know, I left the cage open, put food out there, but he never came back. You know.
So you became a widow at a very early age. So at some point you met Grandpa Jim.
Yeah.
And was he the love of your life?
Yes.
And how did you meet the love of your life?
Just we had been in. People used to try to invite me to meet other guys. I have met others, but it was never. Besides, you meet a guy, and they meet a woman. Can't even say girl anymore. A woman that already has 5 kids. They probably said, "Oh my God, you better stay away from her. She's liable to have 5 more," you know. And I went to a friend's house for a party. It was a house party, and I said, "You and your friends, you know, it never works out, so don't bother." She says, "Well, come in your own car, so you don't have to be picked up by anybody. You have got your own transportation back." And that's what and that's how I met Grandpa Jim.
And what was he like?
And we just mellow, and and we hit it off the first night.
And so, what did you guys, when you guys were together, how long were you together for?
8 years.
And what would you guys do together?
Oh, for one thing, he would come and visit me, and I had to tell him there were 5 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then he used to pick me up, and I would go to New York and stay in his apartment on Riverside Drive. That was sort of the elite group there. Riverside Drive, it's a one way, and then there's a big park, and then there's the Hudson, And I thought, wow, this is different. I learned so much about New York, which it was all unfamiliar to me. That was all something new, until he then finally taught me how to drive. And it took a couple of trips. Then it wasn't really, easy enough. But when you're a passenger, you never pay attention. I thought, all right, I get here, but do you remember exactly how you got there? And see, and to get. You have to get off 59th Street or 79 or 95th. I don't even know which one. You have to get off, and then you go around into Riverside. Before you get to Riverside Drive, I don't know if I could do it now and then.
Okay.
But I loved it. And I loved his apartment. And from there, he showed me where his offices, his suite was. He was a film editor. Negative matching mostly, and off of Broadway, 49th Street, and on the 8th floor, from the 8th floor, I could see Radio City, and we went to a lot of shows there, and I saw all kinds of, Broadway shows, which I knew nothing about before that,
Did you guys travel a lot?
Oh yes, and then he had a brother who lived on a houseboat, which is a house, not one of those that you drive back and forth on or navigate back and forth on whatever, that had a fireplace and all that. So he says, my brother lives in Miami, and I forgot the name of the street, on one of the creeks, but it's not right on the east side near the Gulf, but not the Gulf is the west. Atlantic Ocean, so anyhow, that's where we went, and I said, hey, this is neat, I like it. That's the first time I ever went anywhere, and the first time I flew too, except when I came over.
Right.
That was different flying then too.
Right.
But then we had the jets, 2.5 hours we were there, and his brother took care of us, and I loved that. And that houseboat had a suite up, you call it the second floor, you call it a loft. You see, that's weird. And you go up the stairs, and there was a big bed, king size bed, and the bathroom off of there, and all that. But then when you went to sleep, everything was push button. Everything was you push it, and a big thing would close up, give everybody privacy, and would go across from both ends and just close. And the bathroom we used to go it had jacuzzi in it, And I remember one time I put too many bubbles and I got a flood. I said, I think we took every towel in a place to mop it up. And I said, God, your brother's never going to invite us again. So that was good about that. But we cruised to Bermuda several times. And stayed in hotels there, nice hotels there. And we always took the same Holland American cruise.
Okay.
It was Dutch the Volendam. And the same captain we had the second time, and we had a special dinner with the captain, because we were you know, old people, you know, people who flew, yeah. I traveled the second time with them, so that was nice, you know. I loved it. I really felt like Mrs. Astor. And that one time, I don't know, as Jim says, you know, he could, by then we knew each other 5-6 years, you know. And we knew that this was a steady, this wasn't just a fling, you know. He said, we could ask the captain to marry us. And I just said, I don't know, I'm afraid to make anything like this legal. I'm afraid that we'll lose something. But why make it legal? I'm not going to get any more kids, you know. So, you know, and that's how we ended up.
Do you remember when you first introduced him to your kids? Do you remember when you first introduced Grandpa Jim to your kids?
His what, Kate?
When you introduced Grandpa Jim to your kids.
My kids?
Your kids.
Oh, your kids. One at a time.
And how did that go?
Oh, fine. They all seemed to like them. You know, they were already out of the house. The only one that was still living there was Frank.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't married yet. We went to his wedding, you know. Mm-hmm. And he's the one who took all the pictures. As a matter of fact, we went to your parents' wedding.
That's right. Yeah, there's pictures.
Yes, and he took the pictures, you know, and all that. He took to the kids, and they all seemed to like him, considering, you know, they're not used to their mother being with one guy. You know? Yeah. But I guess they were all happy for me, you know.
Was there one kid or grandkid that Grandpa Jim was the closest to?
That I don't know. No, he never liked to play favorites, you know. And he only had one son who went to college up in, what's the last state up on the Canadian border?
New York? Maine?
No, after that.
Maine?
You know where we went to automobile something school, you know, and went to college there.
Okay.
And when he came back, lived with his mother, and he always tried to get him away from his mother because she was a piano teacher. Mm-hmm. She had a beautiful, I'd seen the apartment, I was there one time, beautiful apartment that was rent controlled, but everybody would get there. And David, the son, I think somehow got his hands in it. He's smart too. Mm-hmm. At that price he got. I don't know if he lives there in that apartment now or whatever. So he says, God, if I can get that one controlled, he'd probably say I'll give my IT, you know. He's got a good business. Mm-hmm.
What would you say your greatest accomplishment is? What's the proudest thing you've ever done? What are you super proud of?
I think bringing up the kids and teaching them, not just manners, the value of anything. Don't look down on anybody. People certainly could have looked down on me and my kids. Mm-hmm. Who the hell goes out and cleans somebody else's goddamn toilets or whatever, you know. And they had to drive me back, whoever I worked for, they had to drive me. I didn't have a car until Joe was old enough to get his. And I never even learned to on that. And then he got himself a Thunderbird. I think I learned on that.
That's a nice car.
He killed that one in an accident, but that was his fault. And it took me a long time to get my own car. I think I had a Volkswagen. Joe used to have then from the Thunderbird was a blue one, but beautiful, you know. He got a Volkswagen, and he let me use it sometimes, and I had to learn to stick shift on there too, you know. And then one time Joe had. He was working in, not Darien, what's the next one? What Pat is? Danbury?
New Canaan, where my parents live?
New Canaan. He was working there for the same company he worked for before. Over, you know, and then that kitchen place. I forgot the name of it. And he says, all right, you can use my car, and you could pick me up, you know. And he says, don't forget, when you run out of gas, there is a button you can push that has a spare tank.
Oh.
Whatever.
That's pretty cool.
Of course, stupid didn't pay attention to that. I was in the middle of, what's that big long street? It used to be, we mentioned it yesterday.
South Avenue?
Whatever. They used to call it something else.
It goes from, I think it's Mansfield or Middlesex, and then it turns into...
I only know it as Mansfield.
Uh-huh.
I got stuck there, and it was dark. I said, holy crow, what do I have to pitch and all that? I said, I didn't know. And I flagged down a car behind me, and a man came up. Nowadays, everybody would say, I wasn't, nothing ever bothered me like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, this is my son's car, and he told me where the spare tank is, but I ran out of gas and just stopped. So he says, oh, no problem, don't worry about it. And he showed me what to do, and I got all the way around the pickup. I had to get into there and make a left-hand turn, and that store was over there. I don't think Joe found out about that till a long time after that. And then I bought myself a Volkswagen after that.
Uh-huh. That must have been pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Buying your first
and
car.
And I killed that one, too.
Uh-oh.
Something, I don't know, some... The insurance I had, I didn't do a good pick or whatever, you know. Mm-hmm. And I had an accident in Exit 5,
mm-hmm.
well, our AMP used to be. And then I forgot what was there before, Nielsen's or something like that, you know. And that's a real crazy intersection. You go this way, that way, you know. And I had a red light or green light coming. It was just very short. While the one over there can go, but you have to still watch the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hit. I totaled the car there.
And what happened to you?
Nothing to me.
Okay, so you were okay.
Yeah.
Good. You were talking about other, you've been talking about jobs that you've had. How did you end up working at Greenwich Hospital?
One of my neighbors told me
mm-hmm.
that she would, not at Greenwich Hospital, she was working for the, she wanted to be a nurse's aide. He says, money, you can stop there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I applied at the Greenwich Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And they taught me, there wasn't even a call nurse's aide, but I wasn't a nurse and I wasn't a whatever. But they had a teaching school,
mm-hmm.
and they train you for 6 months. You have to, but they pay you less than $1 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But I already was on a payroll there, and they gave you. I remember those uniforms. I used to hate them. Skirts, you know, with the black stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when little by little, pantsuits came out.
Uh-huh.
You know. Because before that, nobody wore pantsuits.
Okay.
You had to wear a uniform and a thing on your head, you know. Nobody wears those anymore, those caps. Because the girls used to say, they ruin your head,
mm-hmm.
your hair, you know.
Right,
so anyhow, that's when I finally was not a full-fledged nurse, but that was only a couple of years when one of our we had a physical therapy department mm-hmm. in the hospital, and the head doctor, what the hell was his name? He was British. But anyhow, so he knew of me,
mm-hmm.
that the way I was taking care of the patients, that they have to, for physical therapy, come up. And I was watching them, and he said, you'd be good at that. And he didn't teach me, but there was a place where they teach me everything about physical therapy for patients, you know, mm-hmm. patients who had strokes or hips or knees, you know, what you had to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, sometimes they had to be treated in the bed,
mm-hmm.
but the way they were not bedridden anymore, they could go downstairs to the department, and that's where I gotten into physical therapy. And from there, I got into cardiac rehab.
Mm-hmm. And how long were you at Greenwich Hospital for?
27 years.
Wow. Wow. Was there anyone there that you were really close with?
Oh yes, a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Barbara, and I still talk to them. You know, we correspond, and with a couple of other girls, and don't forget on the physical therapy department that was on the second floor. There was one for hearing and speech.
Mm-hmm.
They were separate because they have to be treated differently, And then they had one that was, I forgot what they call it, for people who had strokes and they had to be rehabilitated. And they had a little kitchen over there where they had to be taught what to do or how to reach for something like that. So when I had my hips done, I said, don't tell me I know all that.
Mm-hmm.
I used to tell people, only it's different when you tell somebody than when you're told for the first time, get out of bed, oh, this hurts, It's different when you give the orders than when you're the recipient and you have to do whatever. But it's after, when you have a hip done, next day you're up, gotta walk right away. And after 3 days, they send you either home and you have home care, or at the hospital when I was here of course, when I had it done here in the top end, Helen Ellis, you just, they said they had a whole department downstairs where you can stay for a month if you wanted to. But beds, it's not just that you had to travel up and down or such. And I was there 3 or 4 days, I think. I forgot what day I arrived. I think the first time Alana was still here with me. And I said, I'll never stick out a whole week over there. There's nothing else they can do for me. I can tell everybody else what to do. And then when it came down for the second hip, the same girls were there, the therapist. I said, oh, here she comes again. She's going to tell us our business. No, but there was no complaints about that hospital, and the girls in there. And then once I was homebound for a while, the physical therapist would come in every day for a week. I said, and they do exercises, but whatever you do, I can do on my own, I mean, for 2 weeks, and that was it then.
So what made you decide to retire after 27 years?
My son.
Which son?
Joseph.
And
the oldest. Because I love the son. Whenever I could get time off from the hospital, I had a lot of vacation time, but by then Jim passed away, and I just forgot my train of thought.
You were talking about why you retired and how you came to that decision.
So, and Joe said, why are you still working? You don't have to financially. You own a house. And everything else, why do you still want to work? I said, because I love my job. But then I was more even involved with cardiac rehab. I learned a lot there too, and all those girls, that's a much smaller department, but a lot of guys who come in a couple of times a week, one night for the longest time we were in, both of them died too. But I love that, I said, what am I going to do? Not working, become a couch potato or something. He said, no, but you visit in June whenever you can, just to be in the sun. I was always a sun worshiper.
Yes, you were.
And so anyhow,
So that's how you got here.
that's
how you got to
and
Florida.
finally ended up in Florida. And Joe went out
Mm-hmm.
looking at places.
Mm-hmm.
He came back and he says, well, I found 4 places that are, I don't know what it is that shouldn't. I have to read the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he says, I found 4 places.
Mm-hmm.
They also are in Topping Springs, not too far from where in June is, you know. And next week, I went with him, flew up, you know, and the real estate agent, I forgot her name, she was so nice too. And they went from one place to another.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were all sort of in this area,
Mm-hmm.
but most of them were houses, but doesn't really make much difference. Wouldn't have made any difference.
Mm-hmm.
One I didn't like, it was too close in, I don't know what, any other. 4th one was this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it. I said, if I want to buy anything, this is the one I would buy, this villa.
And what was about it that
I
made you
like
want it?
the openness and how you're not butt to butt with your neighbor, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it just turned me on.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I think the next week I took time off from work again. We went and I bought the house.
And how long have you been living here?
Well, I bought in 95,
Okay.
but I didn't. I used to send my friends, I said, you want to go to Florida for a while? Here are the keys, use it. And all you have to do is identify yourself, otherwise you can't get into private place like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's not gated, you know, it's still private.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah, I think this is what I like,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then finally Joe taught me and said, Mom, you got this beautiful place here, nobody's living in here.
Mm-hmm.
You have to finish furnishing it, you know. This was, of course, all just screened in. There was nothing here but wooden floor, you know. And the 2 couches were there. I didn't like them. Whatever I got rid of, you know. He says, you know what? In 97, I finally quit work.
Okay.
And that was it, you know. Before that, and then in 97, I just came over
Mm-hmm.
and bought a few things from up north, you know, that I wanted, and that was it.
So how often do you go back to Connecticut?
Well, when I first moved here, I bet I was there 5 times. I should have owned a plane by then, you know. 5 times. Anytime something was going on, where somebody was getting married or somebody was doing this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just twice a year.
And where do you stay when you go up there?
Easter and Christmas, you know. And Easter, I fly up to my daughter Annalisa's.
Mm-hmm.
But then I always take time
Mm-hmm.
to, somebody picks me up to visit everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And Christmas, I fly into Pat's house.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you know, I go visit Annalise for a while, and, you know, and everybody else. So I have to spread it around so feelings don't get hurt.
That's right. You got to make sure you see all your 5 kids and your 12 grandkids and your 15 great grandkids.
It's hard, you know.
So that brings us up to present day. So how old are you today?
89.
And when will you be 90?
Columbus Day. Let somebody figure out where Columbus is. That's October the 12th.
Okay.
When I was born in Germany, October the 12th, I didn't know about Columbus Day. I just knew later when the kids said, I said, oh, this is my birthday. And that's why you're having a day off. But they knew right away. Didn't take long. They said, no, we're having a day off because it's a legal holiday. It's Columbus Day. Not because it's your birthday. I said, I know. Try to fool you when you were younger, not anymore, you know.
How do you feel about turning 90? How do you feel about turning 90?
It's going toward the end. I know. I mean, what am I going to live to be 120? God forbid. That's when the people say, well, you shouldn't eat it. I said, why not? I eat whatever I want. You know, and it's a good thing that I'm not an excessive drinker or anything like that. But I like a glass of wine. But I like it when people come over, I make my shrimp and we have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
I don't like to sit and have it by myself. It doesn't taste the same.
Yeah. You're absolutely
weird.
right. Yeah.
It's weird like that, you know? But and I have the best. I buy good wines for so I don't look so cheap. I have one bottle. One costs only $3 in Walmart. It's a white wine. I think it's a Chardonnay or whatever the brand is. But to me, it tastes good. And I'm not a connoisseur. Let's put it that way. I have a son who thinks he's it, you know, with
So-
his wine.
When you look back on almost 90 years, what do you think? What do you think of yourself? Are you proud of yourself? Are you?
Yeah, I think I raised up a bunch of kids, and I hope they're doing the same with theirs. You know, don't forget it was different in my days.
Yeah.
Kids then didn't have what kids get now, and you have to remember that. Don't let any kid have whatever they want.
That's right.
But that's the case one. I can't stand, I don't like the idea with little kids walking around with the cell phones. No, it's ridiculous. It's fine if, they shouldn't have one going to school anyhow. If it's a high school kid, they better turn it off.
Right.
But little ones, you know, there's no reason why they should. They get picked up by school, by their parents, usually, you know, when they're younger. And, you know, they don't have to take a bus or whatever. Or if it's a school bus, fine, they know what to do, you know. It just, this cell phone bit went, to me, way out of proportion. You know? Not everybody should have a cell phone. That's why I still have, for one thing, I'm too old to learn all this electronic stuff. I still have the old-fashioned flip phone. I want to get calls, make calls, receive messages, and that's it. And have my log in there for the, like an address, you know, numbers. Everybody is in there. I think I still have you under Annalisa Fuscaldo. See, and I don't even bother looking at the thing to figure it out. I know who they are, you know.
If you could have, how do you want people to remember you? What are things about you that you want people to always think of when they hear Lucie Fuscaldo?
It's, well, she came to this country, she lived through the war, which is tough times, and made the best. She lost her husband when she was young. Kids were, oldest was 12, the younger was just about 4. 5 of them, and raised them and taught them values, what they should know, and that's it. I want them to remember me as a good German. Not when I first came to this country, I tried not to have an accent, but everybody says you can't hide it. You know, you have an accent even if I try. See, that is my, the R. That, and a lot of old Germans, the V's and W's. Now, instead of, like a V is like a W over in English is a V. So when I say, now we go, no, it's not we, it's we. You know, so you learn, and that's about it. You know?
And you're a breast cancer survivor too, aren't you?
Oh yeah, at the hospital, you know, and all the doctors, they were so good, it didn't cost me a cent. You know, and he told me, well, I could take a piece out, or the whole breast. I said, look, I'm so small-breasted anyhow. If I think of it now, I would have told him take the other one off too, because then the brass will be right. You know, it's a, but anyhow, so, and they all say, so I said, well, I'm going to have to tell the kids. He says, well, you tell the kids, and if you get mad at anything, yell at somebody, or slam the doors, or kick the dog. I said, I don't have a dog to kick. Besides, it's not the dog's fault anyhow. But they were so good to me, you know.
Yeah.
And I was in a hospital a good week. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it. I had a big private room, you know. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't wait until, for a while, you're not allowed to shower and all that. And you have to do your exercises, you know, all this. But I knew all about that anyhow. And I said, well, when can I take a bath? I like to sit in a tub, you know, take a shower in a tub. He says, all right, try to cover it, you know. I still remember sitting in that big tub there. No, but I have no complaints there. The doctors, the nurses, and everybody was up there, you know. I had more flowers. I looked at the funeral parlor in my room. And I just gave them all away when I left. I couldn't take any of them home, you know. There's too many.
So my last question before the battery runs out for this tape. If this were put in a time capsule and taken out, let's say 20 years from now, is there a message that you want to leave for your kids?
Yes, always be honest. Be true to yourself. Don't try to be better than the next one. You know, just be honest. You know, some people can do and make a fortune. Others do just as hard, but just make a living. You know, so that's all. Just be true to yourself, whatever you are, and teach your kids right from wrong. You know.
All right. Is there anything that you want to say to each in this time capsule? Is there a specific message you want to leave for each child?
Auf Wiedersehen. Maybe someday we'll see. If you believe in God and if you believe in heaven and all that, I still don't know if I believe in that or not. I don't think I do. But who knows? Maybe there is an afterlife. Nobody has come back and told you, right? So who knows? But I just, you know, be honest to yourself. Always do the best that you can. Don't just try to think you're better than anybody else. Be the best that you can be, you know.
Great. All right.
So, Wiedersehen.
I love you.
Love you too.